by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
What's up? What's up? How's it going, Mark? I don't know if you noticed. What'd you say?
I'm saying it's going great.
It's going great.
You know, when you're drinking coffee at 10:30, that it's a good day.
That's how you know you have your life in order. Right?
Yeah, covering hockey is glamorous. It is so glamorous. But yeah, happy to be here. Unfortunately, huge downgrade for the fans, but I'm here anyhow.
This is true. Noha didn't get back to me tonight. We'll get her on, I hope, at one point during the season. I'm guessing great. Family or work life took priority. She is awesome. But a good consolation prize here with my co-host, Mark Dumas, who is fantastic. Lots to talk about tonight in an 8-4 loss to the Colorado Avalanche. The return of Artturi Lehkonen. And man, did he ever return in style until he got hurt. That sucks. But I think the main thing that we got to focus on tonight, Mark, is that with Lehkonen in the lineup tonight, the Avalanche won 6-1. With him in the dressing room, the Habs won 3-2. So Artturi Lehkonen,
it's science.
Key to success.
That is science right there. Sorry, folks.
It is.
That's how it works. Yeah.
100%. All right, let's get this show on the road. You want to bet, then get in on the action. That's Sports Interaction. The boys of summer are back on the diamond and March Madness is on deck. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN or in Ontario, download the app now using the QR code at the bottom of the screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Now, if you're in the mood for advertising, you could also check out sdpnshop.ca.
Yeah, you can get a sticker.
Yeah, get a sticker, get some of those cool Game Over mugs. There's actually a bunch.
You can't get an Eiffel Tower mug, but you don't want one. You want a Game Over mug. That's right.
One. Yeah. It's way better. And way better. There's actually a lot of stuff in that shop now that I have not purchased yet because they've added like the team specific Game Over stuff.
Julian McKenzie shirt. I'm wearing it coincidentally. I'm wearing my Julian McKenzie shirt. So you can buy a Julian McKenzie shirt right now. That's
Who doesn't want... You know what I need, though? I need Julian McKenzie shirts with the Julian memes on them. I know they're not from SDPN stuff. They're from,
they're from group chat stuff. We can't bring that out into the public. That stuff is not meant for public consumption. Hey, shout out to everyone in the chat. What is this? The 47th game the Habs have lost in a row, but you're all here. And I think Kay, I'm not sure if she's here because she went to the game. So I hope the third period rally was fun for her because it's never fun to show up for a game, maybe your only game of the year, and get blown out. So thanks to Artturi Lehkonen leaving, it was a fun game in the third period at least.
Yes, yeah, very true. Although you know what, I have a beef with Kay because she called me old earlier today.
You're super old though, and that means I know I'm super old as well. Yeah,
but absolutely. I don't need to be told that.
Hey man,
she was making fun of Yoel Armia for saying that Instagram Reels and TikTok videos were the same thing, and I was like, they are. It's just that Instagram Reels are a week behind, and
I don't know what have any as much of a time limit.
So like they're the same. Listen, Gen Z people can correct me if they want and tell me what the difference is, but it's the same. It's the same.
I remember.
So, Charlie's in the chat. Welcome, Charlie.
I miss ICQ. Hello. That was something that I could wrap my hands around.
Oh god, absolutely. The ICQ. The worst part about ICQ was the typing sounds.
Loved it. Loved all of it.
Awful.
Yeah.
I remember doing that, having it on my parents' computer and having like the volume way up, and I can't imagine how annoyed my parents were.
Putting passive aggressive like song lyrics, like as your name, as your name, hoping that your crush will see it. That's how we flirted in the late 90s, my friends.
For those who aren't aware, you're away or like do not disturb. Time. You had like a message that you could put in there, so everyone put like emo, like super emotive lyrics in there to like tell people how deep you were.
Oh god,
and how you're feeling at the time.
So much Elliott Smith. I put so much Elliott Smith. Hey, we got a question here from the chat right now. M asked, does the bottom last team always win the first overall pick in the lottery? Hey, there's more odds, but as we saw tonight, Cale Makar was picked 4th overall. The Colorado Avalanche had like 48 points that year. It was one of the worst years on record. They didn't just lose the lottery, they fell to 4th, which I believe they've changed the rules now, so that will never happen. But it goes to show, I mean, they had big cojones going for Cale Makar out of that league, but hey, they picked up arguably the best defenseman in the NHL, 4th overall. So for Habs fans worried about not getting that first overall 2 years in a row, there's still hope for a very, very good player.
Right. And I think Habs fans need to calm down a little bit on Uri Slafkovsky. Like,
why are they? I haven't heard much about him.
I've seen a lot of like paranoia that it's already a bust, right? Because he didn't have a good first year. I don't think he was NHL ready.
It was a bust year for development, but he's not a bust.
Yeah,
that's how I
look at, like, people are looking like, look what Shane Wright's doing in junior. Yeah, like, the kid's not playing in junior. He's on the injured list. Like,
no, exactly.
He can't be putting up points right now.
The only thing I'll say is that for the Habs, I think it was a failed development year in that they kind of rode the line there. It was either keep him top 6, like really pump him up, get that confidence going, or allow him to play for Slovakia, allow him to go to Laval. And they had all those conversations and they never erred on the side of caution. So I get why some fans are worried, but he was literally the youngest player in the league, and he might be the youngest player in the league next year as well. So I'm not stressing over Juraj Slafkovsky.
Bedard's going to be in the league next year.
Are you sure he's going to make the team? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Either way, he's still going to be one of the youngest players in his second year in the league, which I'm glad I'm not on Twitter right now, because people would pull up me saying this about Jesperi Kotkaniemi. But I'm not worried about Slafkovsky's confidence. Even a loss like tonight wouldn't hurt his confidence. How's that for a segue?
For sure. And here, the fact is, here's the other thing about Jesperi Kotkaniemi. He's still 22. Yeah, like his runway is not gone.
Yeah,
he does. Like, is he going to be a top line player? No, I don't think so. Nope. But that's on the Habs. That's not on Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
It's a tale of caution.
They made that pick.
When we talk about guys getting back, so Vincent Lecavalier is one that they quoted a lot, that he had the same amount of ice time as Slafkovsky in his rookie year. And it's not true. Lecavalier had more ice time, more consistent ice time. But regardless, year 2, he went from 14 minutes to 20-some minutes. Now, that was the big part of Lecavalier, sprouting into an elite player. So the Habs will really have to put a lot of confidence in Slafkovsky and just play it out, man. No more dropping him, no more Kotkaniemiing him and leaving him out for games. Like, Kotkaniemi was a healthy scratch towards the end of his tenure with the Habs. So
in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, exactly. So tale of caution right there.
The Dom Ducharme era. It was an era to forget, aside from that Stanley Cup final run. I will say, one of the things that shocked me about tonight is, I mean, obviously we could put it up to the losing Lehkonen for the Avalanche, but I saw a team that just got railroaded in the first period. Mm-hmm. Then they got that one goal at the end of the period, and it seemed to give them a little bit of life. And people were tweeting about it feels like Dom Ducharme's coaching out there, and this feels like the Dom Ducharme era. And I got that in the first period for sure. I understood it, but there was still enough effort level to get things done and continue to be creative. Like, I wrote down, Josh Anderson and Mike Hoffman specifically were very creative in trying to get zone entries. Did they accomplish much? Not that much. But in the second period, you could see that momentum starting to build. And this team, once again, I think the most important takeaway for games like this, where they're playing against a team that's way, way better than them. Like, this is how games should have been going for the last several weeks with all the injuries.
Yeah, honestly, I was getting stressed. Even though they were losing, I'm like, man, my strength of schedule argument's kind of... But now I'm happy with the argument I made last month. Relax, it's gonna get worse. Yeah. I mean, this is how it should have been. Yeah.
The end results, they've lost 7 in a row now. That's where they should be.
All the games. Yeah.
But they've been more competitive in games than they have any right to be whatsoever. And I saw a guy messaged me on Twitter was saying I really hope that Marty St. Louis tears these guys a new one tomorrow in practice. I'm like, for what?
What? Okay, this club was designed to be a bottom 5 team, and that's what they are, right?
And so I think the designed, and look at the injuries on top of it all.
Exactly. So I think the key here is that fine balance, because someone mentioned it to me today. They're like, hey, did the Colorado Avalanche really have any repercussions from that losing culture? Well, yeah, they had to gut their entire team, and they had to hold McKinnon over, and then they had to they essentially did 2 rebuilds there, and their attendance fell to about 14,000. Their players hated playing there. So you have to have that fine balance, right? Like, Nick Suzuki is a guy that has to produce to feel good, and we're seeing 50 points with a really bad team, reminiscent of Saku. But
no one even mentioned that he hit 50 today, hey?
I'm pretty sure he hit 50 points, did he not?
Yeah, he did. He's at 51 now, because he had 49 coming into the game. He had 2 assists tonight.
Oh, there you go.
He's now the first Montreal Canadiens player under 23 to have back-to-back 50-point seasons since Saku in 1998, which is a friggin'
how's that Saku
2 decades ago.
Woo. Yeah, well, and like I'm talking prime Saku Koivu. For those that didn't see him before he lost his knees. Oh, ça là, c'était du beau hockey. So we're seeing that from Suzuki, but we're also seeing some pride, and that's what you need from guys like Josh Anderson and
Yep.
Belzil. Like that goal that was scored, like, I felt so bad. First of all, Chris Weidman, who I'm like, oh yeah, Chris Weidman's playing, scores his goal in the game that everyone will forget about the goal. No one will
Also,
remember.
he doesn't have the goal anymore. They gave it to Ulanen. So Weidman makes that play.
Oh man, sucks to be Chris, and he's the nicest guy.
Man. But you're right, rough. Belzil on that play, like what a phenomenal play.
Nate and McKinnon did like essentially, but AHL version. So that kind of pride, man. You want to see that. You want to see some pushback. You could tell Pizzetta was kind of annoyed too. So it's healthy, man. You don't want to get destroyed every night. So that late game rally didn't hurt them. It added a little bit of pride, and that's what you want to see.
And they keep on playing with pride. I think that's like the take home that I have for this game. I know, poor Chris Weidman. But like on top of that play by Belzil, which was such a great play initially to set up the scoring chance, which he didn't score, but to stick with the puck and then continue the play, man, he's just so smart. I want him to be an NHL player.
He is.
I know, but I mean, like continuing. You know, there's lots of guys who are NHL players who just don't get the chance to continue to be. I want him to be on an NHL roster. I don't even care if it's for the Montreal Canadiens. I want this guy to earn some damn money for how good he is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm with you. And just following his career, he was always the guy that when they're like, you're a good story in the AHL. And he's like, no, my story's not over yet. I remember the first 5,000 word article I wrote for The Athletic was about this guy's going to make it to the NHL by hook or by crook. And I think my last line was, but don't bet against him making against the NHL or you'll look foolish like everyone else. They took it out. My editors like, this will make you look foolish. But anyways, all that to be said, Alex Belzil has been playing great. Absolutely great. Question here from M. If the Habs finish fourth, what is the furthest position they can draft? It would be 6th. So they can only drop down 2. So essentially what it is, real quick, first lottery, top 10 teams, whoever wins it goes up 10 spots. Okay, so
top 11
11
can go up to 1.
Sorry, you can move. And then the second lottery is essentially the same thing, but that other person is already locked in. So if they're first, that second lottery can only go 2 to whatever, and if they're third, they can go over it. But the Habs can only drop twice because there's only 2 people that can move up. There's it's way more complicated than that, but the Habs can drop down to 6th at worst if they're 4th.
Right. That just like last year, they can only go down to 3rd, which was like
exactly
the big deal in finishing first, right? Like that's the main advantage, more than just the numbers. The main advantage is not being able to drop down below 3rd.
But, I should say Arpin saying that Pitlick went to the hospital.
Yeah, I saw that. Unfortunate. You know what I did appreciate about that play though was Devin Taves immediately stopping playing and making sure that he was okay. Obviously, he's not okay. That was a rough hit into the boards. How fast of a skater Rem Pitlick is, and then just that little push and he loses balance. That's all it really takes.
Yeah, like that's unfortunate.
I want to say dangerous play from Devin Taves, but I don't even think it was that dangerous. I think he was just sometimes accidents happen in a high speed sport, and I like the good sportsmanship. And one thing that I will bring up, and then we'll just leave it there. We don't need to get into
Chris
it.
Weidman, eh?
No, not Chris Weidman. But
did Chris Weidman lose his assist?
Don't do it.
Chris Weidman.
Oh God. But if you injure a player, like a devastating injury, if you didn't mean to do it and there's no malice behind it, you stop and at least look.
Yeah.
Remember Zdeno Chara after Max Pacioretty and how he said it was an accident.
Yeah. But he was ready to fight immediately. Yeah, he was turning around to brawl. Yeah, absolutely. What you want to do at all times is do what Nick Ehlers did when fuckface there hit him when hit Jake Evans. That was clearly a dirty play, but the Habs players lost their minds, and so did the Jets, and they were all skating over a limp Jake Evans. Nick Ehlers was the only one, and I'm going to remember that forever. That protected him. So man, Nick Ehlers automatically became one of my favorite players for that move. That is, especially when you're like your brothers are fighting, that is some upstanding, not just hockey player, human stuff. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do love the gentlemanly conduct that from Ehlers, from Taves. I love that kind of stuff. It's just I don't know. It's good for the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's some stuff to get to tonight. I will say, we got a good reminder here from Dina Zulu. Says, don't forget to like the show. Definitely like the show. If you're here enjoying the show, maybe share it on your favorite social media as well. Help more people find us and help the algorithm spread our show around YouTube so more people can enjoy it. Because, we have some fun here.
Help our algorithm, please.
Exactly.
We're asking you. Here at PBS, we need your help. Oh, man. I feel so bad for Chris Weidman. I can't believe
he lost his goal after all that.
Not only will his goal would it have been forgotten, now it's officially erased from history. You know what, though? He's not a minus. One of the few players tonight who's not a minus.
Boy,
so Chris.
Good on him.
And you know what? I obligate to say it. He's genuinely a great person. Like, genuinely a great person. I shouldn't be laughing, but it hasn't been a kind season for
No, it has. It's been a rough one for him. And I think we all expected that he wouldn't see nearly as many games as last year.
He was an insurance policy, yeah.
Yeah, but to have as many injuries as they've had and still have so few games, that's kind of rough for Chris Weidman. But you know what I will say? Not to knock him specifically, but just because Kay and I are beefing now, she went to a game that might have been Caden Gooley's worst game of the season.
Yeah. Well, okay, but I will say this. In the first period, he got walked a couple times. I mean, let's be perfectly honest there. First of all, Savall lost this guy like 7 times, and that was the reason the play stayed alive. He did. And he failed to clear it. The
Bowen Byram goal, yes, Gooley got walked. I think he got caught flat-footed. But
there were 7 mistakes before it.
Savard was in the middle of the ice and just chose to not engage at all. He was like, oh, well, I got to cover the other side. Nobody was there.
Yeah.
Like, shoulder check, man. Like, both of them were pretty brutal
on the ice,
tonight.
I think, for a minute 45 before he got walked there. So, it really wasn't his best game. And that's clearly Kay's fault. But I'm going to go...
Clearly Kay's fault,
yeah. I'm going to rewind it there and point to Savard, who has done a great job considering his skill set. I will say this, but he should never be facing, top opponents. It's just not, unfortunately, it's a situation he has to do right now, but that has never been his thing. So, he looked really, really lost, like 1990s in a mall without cell phones type of loss, because that was a thing we had to deal with back in the day. And you're old, so you remember.
I do because I'm old. Thanks, Kay. I'm just gonna escalate this. It's gonna be the rest of the season. I'm going after Kay, our most loyal booster and listener. I'm coming for you, Kay.
Right?
Never gonna forget this, because actually I will, because I'm old.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll forget it by tomorrow.
Andrew starts sundowning pretty early these days, so no problem there. Hey, how about that Denis Gurianov? Not like his best game overall, but he's putting pucks on net, Andrew. That's what I'm so excited about. I think he's up to about 12 shots per 60 at 5-on-5, which is great. Like, that's where Gallagher usually is. So lots of rubber towards the net. He has games where he's invisible, then he just shows up, which fits the script.
But he's consistently like at the top of the play driving chart as well. Like, his positives relatively, because the Canadians aren't in the positives, but positives in shot attempt differential, positives in expected goals. You know what he's giving me in terms of
creating rebounds, Andrew? That's so important. So important that he's created that second chance opportunities. So
no, Kay can't even defend herself right now. Cope and seethe, shouting out Steve Dangle on the SDP there. Gurianov also, what he's giving me right now in terms of like impression, I see a less physical but a little bit more creative Josh Anderson. And obviously it would be unfair to say, hey, can you be as physical as Josh Anderson, because he's pretty damn physical. But if he can develop his playmaking to a level that's better than Josh Anderson and score like he's scoring right now, putting shots on net, getting chances like he does. Shots. Exactly. As
to quote the 21st century poet Lil Jon. I don't think he has the same drive as Anderson in terms of fire.
But I just mean in terms of scoring chance generation, offensive generation.
There you go. But I will say this: I think he actually has better hands. Like we saw Josh Anderson today. He's been creating a lot of breakaways. And I swear to God, I love Stu Cowan, but he wrote, if Josh Anderson scores on every breakaway, he'd be better. Like, yeah, I understand, Stu. You wrote the same damn thing about Artturi Lehkonen. If players did better, they'd be better. We get that. But Josh Anderson's creating those scoring chances. And I went back and I looked at all of Guryanov's goals. In those type of breakaways, he would have scored on those because he has better hands. Like he maybe can't get to that position as often, but I'm excited to see what he can do with maybe a little more open ice because he can score some nice goals in the breakaway. I just don't think he can turn. Like he's a hockey player. You remember the old school like stick hockey players? That's Guryanov. He sticks on a straight path entirely the entire time. I don't ever really see him as like a more than a 20 goal like that. That's probably his peak, but hey man,
it'd be unlikely to develop past then at 25 if it happens. Found money, right? Huge. Yeah. But if he can just be, like replace Anderson's scoring kind of thing,
like the wish.
If they end up moving Anderson,
Josh Anderson,
exactly, but maybe a little bit more playmaking talent, right? Yeah. Where he might be a little bit better on the power play. That would be an extremely good move for the Montreal Canadiens overall, and a value move at like 2.9 qualifying offer if that's what they
2.9 is qualifying, but again, yeah, you can. There's many options you can avoid that. So yeah. Even Andrew, even at 2.9, who gives a flying banana cake? Like what? Are the Habs really that hard up? You carried Drouin, you carried that. Like there's so much dead weight here. I think it would be a sin to let that kind of potential walk away because of previous mistakes. You fix those mistakes and you bring in the talent. That's where I finish on the whole Guryanov. And the shots, man, lots of shots. I'm excited to see that because the Habs do not generate a lot of shots. It's as simple as that.
True.
Yeah.
This is true. They need more guys that just fire the puck. And, I will say, like, we're talking about Josh Anderson as if he's gone. He's not gone, and frankly, he's still playing his best hockey. Got his 20th of the season, first time in 4 years. He's making me look
like a bit of more of an idiot than usual because he's, like you just said, playing his best hockey, and he's adapted. His style is versatile. So yeah, absolutely.
He's getting it done. I enjoyed, like I noted in the first period, he was getting himself lanes on zone entries, creating spaces to receive passes.
He's utilizing his line mates, which is mind blowing for Josh Anderson.
It's a huge change, and it's the kind of thing where we're now over a year into the Marty St. Louis era. It takes time, especially with older players, to adjust their game. We've seen a lot of growth from Josh Anderson, and I think we can't overstate that, right?
No, and he responded to Martin St. Louis again, essentially called him out and said, like, the energy is great, but you're doing the Andrew Shaw thing where you're just wasting energy, at 100 miles an hour. So he, like you say, older players, it's also a thing of pride. Like they got to that point by playing this way. Why would you change it? You got to give huge credit to Josh Anderson there. And modern history in our chat is talking about Saku Koivu, which I'm just excited to hear. As soon as Saku Koivu's name comes out here, I'm more excited. I know that's the second time we mention him, but we can go for a third Saku Koivu segment if we want to. For those that didn't see it, go look at him in his prime, man. Man, he was leading the league in scoring when he got his knees removed. Like that was supposed to be a good year for Saku Koivu.
At the rate the Colorado Avalanche are acquiring all my favorite Scandinavian Habs players, Saku Koivu is going to come out of retirement and be their second line center. Yeah, and exactly. Yes, I am kind of stealing that from Trinka, but those Eller
and is coming back. Like,
the Petit Viking is coming out of retirement.
The Petit Viking, exactly. So, there you go. They are, you did steal that from Trinka.
But at the same time, like Lehkonen and Eller were two of my favorite Habs, right? And like I got a bit of pushback tonight talking about Lehkonen because when he got his standing ovation when the Canadiens played their little tribute video and then he scored right after that.
Video, but whatever.
Yeah,
the Habs can do better.
They can.
I know for a fact they can do better.
Of course they can. I mean, he was there for a long time, but he has a broken finger. Yeah. Trizex says once a Hab, always a Hab.
It's the curse.
Yeah. But 2 goals tonight, hit his 100th career.
It's because he shook hands with I think Suzuki before the game, or Gallagher. There was like a transfer, like rogue, but reverse.
Oh man, if the Avalanche start dropping like flies, we know. Although they've had their own injury issues.
Reverse
this year.
Rogue, exactly. Yeah, Lehkonen brought it there. Yeah.
Oh god. But Lehkonen scored his 100th career goal tonight, and there's a few people being like, "Oh, he wasn't that good. He's overrated now." And I was like,
"No,
man." I know that people get upset when you talk about former Habs a little bit.
Drop that. But they have to drop that.
Him and Eller are two guys that you and I, as people who covered the Canadiens in a somewhat professional manner, we really like them because they brought things that were not as appreciated by most people, and at times struggled to score. Also didn't get very many opportunities to play on scoring lines. Both players demonstrably proved their critics wrong.
Immediately.
Yeah,
like just,
immediately.
Boom, Stanley Cups, just immediately.
Right? And like, I'm sorry, I'm too petty to not take victory laps about that.
No,
I will continue to do so.
I've been holding back, Andrew, but I remember quite clearly articles coming out, even on a publication, The Athletic, which was essentially like, they were telling me about it. You're not going to like this article, saying Artturi Lehkonen is the epitome of why the Canadiens are a bad team. And I had to hold back so much because I was going on the radio defending him, print, on TV, etc. Artturi Lehkonen is a litmus test for intelligent analysis. That's the way I look at it. If you don't appreciate what he brings, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But you shouldn't be analyzing hockey because you don't see the forest for the trees. And by saying you need to get rid of Artturi Lehkonen because he doesn't finish enough, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because all the other good stuff, there's a reason smart teams target guys like Eller and Lehkonen. They're not your stars, but they're your insulation, and they're the ones that allow you to focus on your foundation, the insulation. So now we're building a home here. We're building a home, and Artturi Lehkonen's that very, very important insulation. If not, your stars freeze. There you go. I'm just gonna
100%. And like for years and years, like my big thing about Lehkonen was give him an opportunity to be the mucker on a skill line, and he's gonna make that line way better. Lo and behold, what did he do last year with the Canadiens whenever he was on a skill line? Scored friggin' goals, and then goes to Colorado. He's a first liner for almost the entire playoff run. He's first wave power play.
Which he stopped getting in Montreal after his rookie season. Yeah.
Which was crazy because he led the team in scoring chances that year.
I feel like now when you're building the Canadiens, you need to look for, obviously there's guys that are stars there, but I think guys like Owen Beck, I know a lot of people are expecting him to be like a breakthrough 90-point guy. I don't really see that.
Who's expecting that? Who's expecting that? They need to calm down.
I was just exaggerating to make my point here.
Okay.
I'm lying. Okay. Fine. I'm lying. You got me. But I just see him more as a defensively responsible guy that can, probably hold the opposition at bay, because if you're scoring 15 a year, but you're stopping them from scoring 30 a year, you're probably more useful than the Patrick Kane on the top line. You know what I mean? So guys,
especially
like Owen,
Patrick Kane now.
Yeah, literally, he's the best example. So guys like Beck will hopefully be the insulation for guys like Caulfield and Lane Hudson and Nick Suzuki, obviously.
Yeah. Trizak mentions that Lehkonen had dinner with Gallagher and Evans last night.
See?
It's the food. The injuries are in the food. He says, you know what?
Maybe it's like Freaky Friday, but yeah, they transferred their pain there. Sorry. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Speaking of, we talked about good sportsmanship and all that, and I don't really I'm not saying anything bad about Michael Pezzetta because he got run into the boards and he just got up and tried to fight. But man, watching the potential of Mike Pezzetta going after Bowen Byram with all the concussion issues that he'd had, immediately, once I saw who the two were that were tangled up, my stomach dropped a little bit. I was like, please do not wreck this kid.
Yeah. And Byron, well, he held on for his life. That was the right, that's the right call, man. Just absolutely. No, it's the same thing when I remember seeing Evans fight at some point this year, and I got it. He was so pissed off. He was the one that was really, everyone else had given up, and he was like, guys, let's do this. We have to. We're millionaires. We get paid a lot to play a hockey game. And I get that part of it. But yeah, part of me, I was like, oof, I know his concussion history. So yeah. It can be tough to watch.
Again, I don't blame Pezzetta because Byram did run him from behind, and you can't really do that and expect a guy not to get upset. What I was kind of shocked by was that nobody from the Avalanche stepped in. You saw how quickly Johnson jumped in when Caden Gooley shoved Nathan McKinnon, but and I get it, McKinnon's a star for sure, but if I'm a Colorado Avalanche player and Bowen Byram's getting into a fight, and you're winning 8-4 or whatever it is, I think it was
take
7.
The extra man in,
take the instigator penalty and get that kid out of the fight. Because
I didn't see who was on the ice, though. You know what I mean?
I didn't either.
Yeah, I could, but I know I get you. It's just
Chris Weidman would do it. He's not big. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Chris Weidman will go to the war for any of these guys.
Exactly.
He is genuinely a good guy, but With the Avalanche, what it's like 3/4 of the roster are all elite. So you gotta pick and choose there, buddy. You gotta pick and choose.
But I mean, you just do like rock paper scissors real quick. Worst guy on the ice goes in for Byron because like man, with all the concussion issues that he's dealt with in his young career, I just don't want to see him get concussed again. That's just like health of the league kind of thing. And I really like the player, and you don't really want to see anybody go through that. Like head injuries are no joke.
Speaking of which, like Rem Pitt, like I know that he went to the hospital, but man, I feel like he's one of the guys that he's not getting talked about a lot. But going back to the minors after playing essentially the whole year with the Habs, that's rough on the ego. Never complained. He was great for the Laval Rocket, and when he came up, like he's not putting up a ton of points, but he's outscoring half the lineup. He's putting in the effort. We know that for sure. This like the processor doesn't always catch up to the skills, but I think Rem Pitlick has been probably a underspoken story for the Canadiens. I know it's not like that exciting, but we have to give him credit for what he's done this year and the attitude he's maintained. So
yeah,
hopefully it's not a concussion, and hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, hopefully. Like obviously we hope that he's okay. Kay just dropped into the chat from the bar. I can't wait for you to watch this show, Kay. In its entirety.
She's gonna get your ass. You're in trouble.
I'm gonna wake up to some tweets tomorrow, I'm sure. But yeah, I think there's not much else to talk about with this one, Mark. I think we'll keep it short and sweet. Yeah, there's like we covered it all, I think, except for we didn't talk about the Mike Matheson goal. Another guy, like he just keeps impressing.
I think that Mike Matheson changes the complexion of this team like to the extreme. But one of the fun things that Martin St. Louis mentioned today in the presser, like they wanted to give credit to Matheson, and classic hockey guy. He wanted to, St. Louis redirected to his other players. He was saying, I want to see more defense from the offensive guys, but more offense from the defensive guys. And you got to be careful with that because it's kind of pulling them out of their, but I think it was just a rule of thumb that he wanted to say. He wanted to maybe calm down the Mike Matheson hype. Matheson changes the entire complexion of this team.
He does.
He's best in transition. He's the best at supporting the attack. He should get called for more penalties when defending one-on-one. That's like his one issue. But overall, Mike Matheson is just so important for this team, and he's important for the forwards. Like he's one of the few guys that can actually launch the attack, and the guys are excited to play with him. So for guys like Gooley and Harris and Barron, seeing him on the ice, giving the firsthand example, it's important. It's very important. I know a lot of people wanted to trade him, but you need some guys that, we talked about leadership from Joel Edmondson. I'll say this: watching Mike Matheson play is way more important than having a guy in the locker room saying like, "Good game, kid." You know what I mean? So that's my view on Mike Matheson as a leader. He's a leader on the ice, and that's what matters most.
Yeah, King of the North says, did you see the broadcast blunder on Sportsnet at the end of the second period?
No, I had to mute it. I'm sorry, Gary Galley, but I had to mute it.
I think he actually tweeted this at me on Twitter. I didn't see the video of it, but I guess they like accidentally went to the wrong camera. My screen just went black.
Mics? Oh, those are always
No. Like the cameraman was like walking away, like leaving or something like that. He could explain it in the chat better than I can because I didn't see it. What I did hear as well is that before the game, in the pregame, which I didn't watch, so I'm paraphrasing what I heard, but I guess the Sportsnet panel said that the Canadiens had to figure out whether Slavkovsky was a center or a winger, and I'm like, you never watched any games this season, did you? Like, he's a winger. Everyone knows.
Okay, you could say left winger, right winger, because he played both in Slovakia, and but no, there's no center.
Not a center.
That's not a thing. One thing that Adam Dyer mentions here, actually, Jaden Struble. So there's a few guys that the Habs will have to. Well, okay, Northeastern could make it into the playoffs, but they're ranked 20th, so they're probably not going to get the draw. There's Struble. There's also, I believe, Frédéric Dichau is ready for the Gnome. He's ready for a contract as well. His rights expire, and Tony Sund, who is Adam Engstrom's partner, his rights expire. So it's really only Jaden Struble. I look at him as like you sign him, but maybe maybe you try to go the Laval Rocket route with him. Like he just never took the next step offensively. He's got good offensive instincts. The production wasn't quite there. The defensive positioning is questionable, but there are few humans in the world that are more of a physically fit than Jaden Struble. Like this guy, he can bench press buses. So like there's a lot of raw talent there. I think you ask Adam Nicholas if there's enough to kind of work with and make him a good player. But yeah, so Jaden Struble might be the next little bit of news for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, and when does Harvard get eliminated there?
Well, they're probably
that's
gonna
the exciting one, right?
They're gonna obviously. So Harvard just beat Princeton. I forget. Sorry, it's been a long day, but they're gonna keep going. Most likely, you're looking at for Sean Farrell is the last 2 games. That's the longest that the Frozen Four can go. So the Habs have 2 games after the end of the Frozen Four, and Harvard might make it to the end of the Frozen Four. They have Henry Thrun, they have Laferrière, like they have a really Coronado, a very, very strong team. So it should be a fun run for Sean Farrell, who I guarantee will sign a contract once it's done, and he's going to make his NHL debut this year.
All right. That's a Mark Dumont guarantee. You got it.
$0 value right there.
It's worth 5 Schrute bucks.
How many Stanley Nichols to a Schrute buck?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like the stream before you go. Make sure you subscribe to SDPN. We've got lots of cool content coming with you. I think there's 15 games left now.
I'm so sorry, Chris Weidman.
Here.
I'm so sorry, Chris Weidman.
Oh, poor Chris Weidman. But you know what? He's just a good guy, and
he really is.
He's still playing in the NHL. That's not nothing.
You know what?
So...
What I love the most about him is that he always says, "I'd be paying to play with the boys' beer league if I could." Like, this guy legitimately loves the NHL, and not all the players on the ice do.
There you go. And he and Chris Tierney, maybe they can take an Uber together somewhere. And
hey, we have another 40 minutes. Chris Tierney has been good. I'm going to defend him.
I know, right? I mean, here's the other thing. Didn't the power play score twice tonight? No, just once, the Gurianov goal. I thought the Matheson goal might have been a power play goal, but no. All right, anyway, the power play scored tonight. That's not nothing either. There are things that happened
that is not
that
nothing.
were kind of fun.
Something. That is something. Exactly.
Yeah, anyway.
They put on a show for K. They gave us stuff to talk about. They didn't win, which means the Montreal Canadiens are in a very good shape for the draft lottery. When you're looking at guys like Mishkov and Benson and Lavoie, and obviously there's Fantilli, there's better players involved there too. Will Smith, there's a lot of talent available for the Montreal Canadiens.
Absolutely. A lot of talent. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you again tomorrow, because apparently there's a back-to-back. I didn't know that until the game started tonight, and they mentioned there's a back-to-back.
They're playing against Pittsburgh tomorrow. Oh, and also someone they keep mentioning one flying banana cake. I don't know. I was trying to say Crazy Town Banana Pants, but I got a little mixed up there, and I said flying banana cake. Okay? These things happen. It's live. It's a live production. So
it's
happy
an old
Crazy
person
Banana
thing.
Pants to all of you.
It's an old person thing. You wouldn't get it. All right, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.